First of all, I feel like there is truth to everything that everyone is saying around Puff. I feel it's not a lot.
Everybody knew that Puff took Tupac blueprint and changed Biggs and Bad Boy in him.
Eminem foresaw the future with an infamous bar in Kill Shot. He threatened to pull back the curtain on Diddy's horrifying past during the ongoing federal investigation into Sean Diddy Combs. In response to Eminem's accusation that he put out a hit on Tupac Shakur, Diddy responded in Eminem's 2018 diss single directed against Machine Gun Kelly. M-Raps Kells, the day you put out a hit's the day Diddy admits that he put out the hit that got Pac killed. Diddy did not seem to take it well, clapping back in a now-deleted episode of Joe Budden's YouTube series, saying that the problem with Eminem was handled privately. According to Us Weekly, Diddy said, "There's nothing to say about it, it's in my hands." He wilded out as it was revealed.
I think that last bar took it there with Puff. And I'm speculating here, but that was some
nothing to speculate about, nothing to talk about. Puff said it's in his hands, and he said I can say it.
All right.
And that's the end of that.
Have fun with that one.
He said, there's nothing to say about it. It's in my hands. He wild. Period.
Everybody knew that Puff took Tupac blueprint and changed Biggs and Bad Boy in image. I Get Around talked about how fly you was, how many girls you mess with, how many cars you drive, how much money you got, what you willing to do. He took his image. Pac was the first one on the scene wearing Versace shirts. He went and got the same Versace shirts Pac had. Which, all right, some dudes would do that. You would never catch me wearing something that somebody else got. He was knocking down all the women that he thought Pac was knocking down. And what I mean is having sex with. Why would you want to have sex with women you know for sure a dude that was once cool with you was dealing with? That's that image. Because you got to realize, bruh, Puff and Pac was cool at one time. We know this. Mopreme said that they was going to sign the Bad Boy. So if he's going to sign to Bad Boy, it was because of Corey and them. I put that picture on the internet. I put the picture on my channel of Corey Jones. Is Corey Jones, Corey Jacobs? I think Corey Jacobs and Pac right next to each other. Those was the real bad boys of Bad Boy. You understand? Those are the ones who got the 16 to life sentence. That Pac was going to go and be with them first. But then Mopreme said, when it became just Big and Puff, because Corey and them went to jail, he changed his direction. But nobody know why Pac and Puff fell out like they did. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody know why. But Puff had an obsession with him for whatever reason it was, because he started wanting to act. He started wanting to rap. He had an obsession so bad that at his Grammy Award winning speech, he used the same speech that Pac used. That shit is crazy. So when I say I'm obsessed with talking about Puff and telling y'all the truth, who's obsessed with who? Pac had Sarah before Puff. Allegedly, he had Sally before Puff. And Kim had an obsession or liked Pac so much, she on the red carpet with Tupac shirt on. Who's obsessed with who?
So you believe Diddy, he only got with Sarah Chapman because Pac, he had her at one point.
And it was a bet in the office. Sarah was messing with an NBA basketball player. Puff bet all the niggas didn't believe that he could get it within 2 weeks. $100. So she actually was a $100 bet that he got.
And who was the NBA player?
I think it was Gary Payton, allegedly. That's what he said. Somebody said, she messed with Gary Payton? I have it within 2 weeks. Me and him and Sarah went to this party in Chicago that he was hosting with the Streets Entertainment. And we went to the store called Cranberry and it's one of those stores like you get fragrance and you get candles, colognes and stuff like that. It's called Cranberry and something. And from that point on, yeah. But you gotta realize, Misa and Kim was friends. Misa and Kim was friends. He started dealing with Kim over Misa. Kim and Sarah was friends. I mean, hand to hand, pots and pans. They was close. They all used to, Sarah, Kim, and this other girl, I think she was from Atlanta. What's her name? It missed me right now. But they all used to hang together.
He also went on to talk about how he was seemingly happy about Pac dying. Even 4 months ago, one of Tupac's cousins said in an interview that he believed Diddy was being investigated for Tupac's murder.
I got a 2-part question for you. How do you feel about Puffy, and do you feel like he should be investigated for Tupac murder?
Yeah, so to answer to your first question, how I feel about Puffy, I'm going to be very honest about my response. I have a lot of respect for what Puffy accomplished in his career. It's very difficult for a black man in America to accomplish the heights of success that he has accomplished. So I respect that. In a way, I respect his accomplishment, his climb up the ladder for what he was able to achieve. You know what I mean? You got to look at that and you got to say to yourself, wow, that's admirable to come from nothing and be able to achieve what you achieved as a black man in this country. I know how hard that is, so I respect that. Now, to answer your question about that, first of all, I feel like there is truth to everything that everyone is saying around Puff. I feel it's not a lie. I feel that there's some truth to it because remember, I was around Pac during that time. You know what I'm saying? And I seen how things was transpiring. So I believe that there's some truth to it. That yes, in fact, Puffy was intimidated by Pac. He felt like Pac was someone he was threatened by. Because look, dude, if you know Pac, if you someone like a Puff, you would be threatened by him because every time you see Pac, he got a gun, like he got 2 or 3 guns, and he's like blatant. Pac is a dope dude. Don't get me wrong. He's not a bully or nothing like that. He's a funny guy. He's a nice guy, generous guy, peace-loving guy. But he wasn't having it. He just wasn't having it. So I can see why Puff might have felt threatened by Pac. I can see. So if it's true that what everyone is saying, Keefy D, everyone coming on these podcasts, the storyline about Puff paying whoever to do whatever, with Pac, if all that is true, like I said, he needs to be held accountable for it. He needs to be held accountable. He has to It has to be accountability from him for his involvement in getting my cousin killed. I try to keep my personality out of it because, like I said, I'm not in that space anymore where I wish harm on someone else. I just don't feel like that anymore. But I do feel that he has to be held accountable if it's true. And I think there's a lot of truth to what has been said. So I think the problem with what's going on with the Vegas PD, why they're stuck in that part of the investigation, is because they can't, I think it's money, but also it's because they can't find a corroborator with Keefe D's story. If they can find someone close to Puff that can say, yes, everything Keefe D just said is true, then they have a corroborating witness. True. If they don't have anybody that can corroborate Keefe D's statements as it applies to Puff, then they really not going to have Puff lawyers. Puff is wealthy. He will have lawyers that is tear that up, those accusations up, because there's no corroborating evidence.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. The only reason why they didn't arrest Puff yet is because they don't have corroboration. Now, on the other hand, this is just a guess, my opinion. I think that Puff is being investigated. I think that they're waiting, or they may be waiting for an opportunity for him to incriminate himself, just like Keefe D did. Probably on the phone though, like on a wiretap.
No, they arrested Puff. He went to jail right after Keefe D, early in the morning, but they said it was for a traffic ticket.
Oh.
But he went to jail. He got taken in down in Miami.
Did you go to jail for a traffic ticket?
No, but they said it was for a traffic ticket. But he did go to jail, get turned in, and he does. I mean, when you put $2 million on a person's head, you really that dude's too powerful. You can't fight with money like that. How you go? How couldn't beat that? $2 million on his head. What the hell could he have done to anybody to make him put $2 million on your head?
But that's a good point, though. I do believe that when you say that they probably got him wired, or they probably looking at his checks and stuff to see if he slip up and say something. That'll make sense too.
The reason why I think that is because there's too much chatter. There's too much chatter going on. You got this guy, Keefe D, who made a deal with the LAPD to tell what happened so that he don't have to do time for a drug case that he was facing life for, right? And he was very, very forthcoming with the information, right? And even though he implicated all the people that was in the car with him and Puffy, the people that was in the car with him are dead. They're dead anyway. So there's nothing that can happen to them. But Puff is the only person living that has something to do with that. You got to think why he's not being arrested or even at least questioned. And that's why. He's rich. He got a lot of money.
He's a gangster.
Yeah, he's a gangster. But if they had a corroborating witness that can say, yeah, Puff said this to me. He said this, and I swear on a stack of Bibles, he said it. That will be a different scenario.
Federal raids on Sean Diddy Combs' homes may be tied to the recent arrest of a mobster in the 1996 murder of artist Tupac Shakur, according to a retired FBI agent who investigated the case. Phil Carson, a retired head of the Los Angeles FBI office, suggested that the information supporting search warrants for Combs' Louisiana and Florida houses could have originated from the alleged murder accomplice, Dwayne Keith D. Davis, who was charged last year. Carson is an authority on hip-hop outlaws and kingmakers from the 1990s, having spent years investigating police corruption surrounding the shootings of Shakur and his East Coast rap rival Biggie Smalls, a.k.a. Christopher Wallace. In an exclusive interview with DailyMail.com, Carson cited Davis's arrest on September 29th last year for his admitted role in Shakur's murder, which Davis claimed was a $1 million hit ordered by Combs, though the music producer disputes it. Carson highlighted how a probable life sentence may be compelling former gangster Davis to reveal new details about Combs to investigators. It's not like the olden days of the Italian mafia where everybody kept their mouth shut, the ex-bureau agent said. As soon as somebody has handcuffs on them, they'll sell out their own mom. Now Keefe's arrested, and and that's a game changer because they have something over him, and that's when he may start spilling his guts. He's an OG from out here, added Carson, referring to the shorthand term for original gangster. He's rubbed shoulders with a lot of the big shots. Every one of those guys has a story to tell about how the streets were run back then. So who's to say Keith didn't start throwing stuff out there that he hasn't talked about before to potentially save his A? That's not to say it's the reason federal law enforcement executed these warrants on Diddy's house. Carson cautioned, but it would be interesting to know what the evidence is and where that evidence came from that they put in these affidavits to get both these search warrants. It's got to be something of substance. As part of a 2008 temporary immunity agreement, Davis informed LAPD officers that Combs offered him $1 million to assassinate Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight. He took me downstairs and he's like, man, I want to get rid of them dudes, man. I was like, we'll wipe their ass out quick, man. It's nothing, Davis told police in a recorded confession reported by La Weekly in 2011. This sounds eerily similar to what happened to everyone at Uptown Records.
I was thinking to myself the other day, Uptown Records started with 5 people. Andre Harrell, I'll Be Sure, Heavy D, and Puffy. And Kim was the longest working employee because she was there from the very beginning. She was Andre's personal assistant.
Mm.
Kim is dead. Heavy D is dead.
Okay.
Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Heavy D was found dead, face down in the heart attack. Andre Harrell, heart attack. Kim died from pneumonia, but there's the first coroner's report that said that she died. It was ruled a homicide, and they found toxins in her body to prove that she had been poisoned. You know, they have poisons that create heart attack and pneumonia-like symptoms. And then right after that, Al had a meeting, and I was going to meet up with him because we were in Vegas, and then the next thing you know...
And I don't know if he said kill her, but I heard the part about the putting in the car, and that's the same that when Kirk Burroughs wouldn't sign over his rights to Bad Boy, his 25%, that he was threatening to do. Kirk was like, yo, put that nigga in the car and drive him around. So I could see him doing that with the putting in the car stuff, but I don't see him killing her for the article and all that, bro. But the putting her in the car, something like that, I could see him saying that to her.
So that's something that he told the Kirk Burroughs too then?
Yeah, he told Kirk Burroughs that when he was threatening with them baseball bats.
What's the story with that, yo?
I think it was like Kirk had to sign over Bad Boy. He had like 25% of Bad Boy. But for them to get the deal, everything had to be in one lump thing. Like somebody couldn't owe 25%, somebody couldn't owe for Puff to do the deal. So Kirk had to sign over his shares in order for them to do the deal, which I didn't never understand. It wasn't my business to understand it. But Kirk ended up signing over it back to Diddy with the promise that he was going to get it back once they do the whole thing with Clyde Davis and everything. And Kirk had to be threatened in order to do it. And that was with it was no real baseball bats. You know those mini baseball bats you get from the games back in the day? Those little short baseball bats, they used to give them back in the day when we was growing up. I don't think they do that anymore. You know, so threatened Puff threatened Kirk with that, a couple other dudes, and told him, man, you're going to take this long ride or you're going to give up that percentage of the company.
And that's when Kirk Burroughs, he signed it over, he was scared?
Yeah, he's scared. What else he going to do?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to hear that from you, you know, that confirms it. Because when people hear this, they start to believe that, you know, it's being made up and, you know, people going overboard with the lies. But, you know, to hear that from you.
Yeah, I know, bro. That's the whole thing about it is that. But then, you know, some people, they go by faith and other people go by sight. You know what I'm saying? I live by faith, brother. See, nobody believed he was the man that he was until they seen him running down the hall, throwing that little girl against the wall, throwing her on the floor, and start kicking her like she was somebody's soccer ball. They had to see that to believe the evil in him. So when I tell these stories, they don't believe. And some of them are, yeah, I heard, I'm there. Yo, I have Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. When I come to work, yo, Gene, this what happened. Yo, Gene, did you hear that? Yo, Gene, da-da-da-da-da. I'm looking at this nigga like, for real? Wow. So now everybody think that because I talk about it, that I was a part of it, and I saw it. Not everything. Did we have to rough some cats up? Yeah. I'm for that. Back in the day, I'm for that. Whatever. Sue's Rendezvous was gladiator school for me. I love that, especially when dudes start talking that stuff and what they gonna do. That's a younger part of Gene. When we doing them parties, I'm at the front door and dudes are talking that smack. I'm for that. That was a younger Gene. These are just stories of my life. It's a difference. So when Puff did some of those things like that, yeah. But I'm not going to be involved in him hurting somebody's daughter, drugging somebody's daughter, or raping somebody's daughter. Not Gene Deal. I got daughters of my own. I got sisters. No, you're not doing that. So when these guys make up that shit out here on these content creators and want to believe this and say that, you can make your